Hey, friends, welcome back to the Crimson Chronicles podcast, the internet's only dedicated show to Alabama Crimson Tide sports history. We're so glad you're joining us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share. Tell us what you like. Tell us who you'd like to hear on the show. Tell us the stories from Alabama history that you want us to cover next. I'm Rick Morton, and I'm excited to be with you here today with my co-host, Tommy Ford. Tommy, today we've got a really interesting story and a fantastic guest from one of the most fascinating eras of Alabama football history. Why don't you tell us about it?
Thanks, Rick. We have as our guest today Peter Kim, a native of Seoul, South Korea. He moved to Hawaii at age 15. He played at Hawaii for 1 year before transferring to Alabama as a place kicker. He lettered here for the Tide in 1980, 81, and 82. He led Alabama in scoring in 1980 and 81. He was part of the 81 315 Iron Bowl team and the 1982 Liberty Bowl team, which was, of course, Coach Bryant's last game. He scored the final point of the Paul Bear Bryant era at Alabama. Even after 45 years, Peter is still in the Alabama football record books. Peter, did you know that?
I didn't know that. What was that?
Okay, well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
You are 10th all time in career points by kicking with 207. You are tied for third in the number of field goals kicked in a game, 4.
Okay.
And you did that twice, once against Tennessee in 1980 and
Yeah.
against Kentucky in 1981.
Right.
You are ninth in school history in career field goals with 37.
I see.
And we welcome you to Crimson Chronicles tonight.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's our honor. Well, let's get started. What prompted your family's move from Korea to Hawaii when you were a teenager?
You know, Korea was a very undeveloped country in 1974, all the way to about 80, mid 80s. And today, Korea became one of the most richest country in the world. So obviously, my family wanted to have a better life, and my parents want us to have a better education. So that was the reason why the whole family was moved from Seoul, Korea to Honolulu.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Peter, when you first arrived at Alabama, did you really think at that point that you would become the guy? There were a lot of guys that were competing for the position of place kicker at that point, right? Or
Right.
did it feel fairly impossible at that point?
Well, this is true story. When I left home, my mom basically when I told my parents that I was going to Alabama, they thought I was crazy because I was walking on at Alabama. I had my scholarships at University of Hawaii. I mean, I was perfectly okay, but there's something that I wanted to get away. I wanted to get off the island and go play somewhere. And uh, my freshman year, second game of the season, we went to Nebraska, Lincoln, to play. And Coach Tommy, who was later became the best football coach in history in Arizona and University of Hawaii, had us believe that we could beat them. But obviously, back in the days, 1978, Hawaii football wasn't all that. So first quarter, we were down 35-0. But anyhow, I had a very good game against Nebraska, and I remember going into the stadium. Everybody wore red. I really didn't click me because back in the days, I just came from Korea. I didn't know much about American football history, but I knew Nebraska was one of the better teams in the country. So when I saw the fans, it was 76,000 versus Hawaii, maybe 15, 18,000. So I figured, hey, if you're gonna play, you're gonna play for the best. So from the second game on, I was thinking about transferring. So uh, I looked over my shoulder, see what Nebraska had. Back in the days, they were all straight on kickers, and we're one of the first breed of a soccer style kickers back in the day. So I felt like I could do it. And there was a little, what do you call that, the ball boy, provided by the Nebraska because we were the visiting team. And then that 9-year-old kid told me, he said, I've been a ball boy here for 2 years or something like that. And he told me I was the best kicker that he's seen coming through here. So that kind of gave me a little confidence, but I looked over my shoulder to see what they have, so I felt like, hey, if he can play, I can play in this league. They kind of led me to get away from Hawaii to go play someplace else. And plus, Alabama played 78 Sugar Bowl, their goal line stand against Penn State. They
Yeah.
really got me interested in coming to Alabama. But uh, leaving my home, my mom basically told me, don't come back if you're not succeed. So I had no choice. It wasn't about question about whether I'm going to make it over there or not. I got no place to go to, so I had to do it. We had 6 kickers, competing for that position, and it was a little while, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, and I did what I had to do to win the job. So, and I thank the coaching staff and players at the time. They gave me a lot of encouragements and helping and things of nature. So I was very lucky, and that was one of the best decisions that I made in my lifetime to go to Alabama. So it all worked
Well,
out.
I had a follow up to that. You mentioned soccer. I assume you played soccer
Yes,
all your life growing up.
I played soccer growing up, and
It,
I played high school soccer. That's how I got linked to football.
Hmm.
Like I said, I hardly spoke any English at the time, but football coach Ron Lee came down to the field and said, "Hey, all your soccer balls going over the goalpost, not under." So he said, "Maybe you wanted to play football, So, and he brought down the football and he put it down, and I first football I ever kicked was a 40 yards field goal, So he said, "Hey, you're on the team." So that was the beginning of my football career.
well, also as a follow up to that, you mentioned being at Nebraska. Alabama had played Nebraska in Lincoln in '77.
Correct.
The year before, and then beat Nebraska in Birmingham in '78, the year before you came, while you were a freshman at Hawaii.
Right.
I know Alabama intrigued you, but was it Coach Bryant also? And what did you see in Coach Bryant, and why did you want to go play for him?
Actually, I didn't have much knowledge about Alabama football and Coach Bryant, the history. In history, general history of Alabama football or American football, I didn't have much knowledge to it.
Yeah.
All I knew was being an immigrant kid, knew there was an opportunity to play football because soccer back in the days was nothing. There's no scholarships available. And
Right.
I knew when Coach Lee and my brother-in-law, who was a professional, club professional golfer, gave me encouragement and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity. Football is a sport to play in the United States, and you have a chance to play in a major college." And when I got the scholarship from University of Hawaii Division One school, they gave me an indication, hey, maybe I have a chance to play. But not knowing much about Alabama football or football history in America, uh, I contacted, because I knew I was going to leave Hawaii. I contacted USC, Nebraska. Nebraska welcomed me with open hand because Coach, uh, what's his name? Coach Osborne,
Hmm.
Yeah, Tom
Tom
Osborne.
yeah,
Osborne.
Uh-huh.
Tom
Yeah.
Osborne, actually offered me a scholarship to come to Nebraska if I win the job. But on the other hand, Alabama was like careless whether I come or they didn't think I was going to show up. But and I also contact Oklahoma. They all want me to walk on, but nobody offered me, which totally understandable, right? Because I had to redshirt too. So I look at the weather belt. This is a true story. I look at the weather belt, Nebraska and Alabama. I say, I don't know about Nebraska.
Yeah, especially coming
So I
from
said, you know
Hawaii.
what? I'm gonna go to the South and play for. But before I came, I was told who Coach Bryant was.
Mm.
Steve Cash was on the team at the time, but he was on the injury reserve list. And my brother-in-law knew his friend's family. So they kind of told me what Alabama football is all about. So I had a pre-knowledge, but I didn't know it was that deep until I came. And when I first met Coach Bryant, I mean, suddenly it was a totally a different level of intensity. Just meeting him. But uh, I mean, that's how it was. So yeah.
Peter, we're
Did I?
pretty thankful that you needed to be in the warm weather. That's
Yeah,
a
I
that.
mean, yeah, I mean, I think that was a right move, and actually worked out best because Coach Brown always give all the walk-ons a chance at first week of the tour days. I think he spends like 3 days, give all the walk-ons a chance. They look at that. But whatever the reason, the first couple of days they had me out there, I'll start kicking 60 yards down the road. I mean, right over the goalpost. And the first day they say, hey, maybe he had a lucky day. So second day I went out, I did the same thing, kicked 62 yards, and I know exactly when to quit. I picked up my tee after I kicked a couple of the 62 yarders, and they didn't have anybody kicking that long at the time. So Coach Bryant actually gave me a scholarship 2 months after that I got there. So it worked out
Wow.
better than going to Nebraska,
Wow.
going to other schools. So I
Was
can't
that
thank Coach Bryant.
the year you were redshirted? He offered you the scholarship.
Exactly. Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was like a couple weeks before the Thanksgiving. I remember I didn't have a car at that time, so I ran from what you call Coliseum
Yeah.
back to
Memorial
the
Coliseum.
dormitory to call my folks. I probably broke the world record. I ran so fast. Those are the years that you call and you calling for collect calls, right? So your parents
Sure.
has to accept the call. Sometimes they say no. But
Well,
anyways, yeah, those are good memories. So Coach
well,
Bryant gave me the scholarship, even though he knew I wasn't going to go anywhere.
Mm.
I know Alan McElroy was the place kicker in '79, right?
Right? He was the
And you
yeah,
were redshirted, and there were probably in 1980 or so, there were probably 5 or 6 vying for the job.
yeah. We had six
Yeah.
guys, including myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick,
Peter, what was it like to be a specialist under Coach Bryant? What was your preparation like? Kind of your rhythm during the week, that sort of things. Yeah, how were you guys coached, and how much interaction did you have with him?
Well, we had a kicking coach that was play for Coach Bryant. Uh, boy, my
probably
senior
Jack.
moment.
Was it Jack Rutledge?
Coach Rutledge was a special team on the staff. Special. He was not particularly in charge of the kickers, but he was in charge of the team. And he played tight end and kicker at Kansas City. He's always around in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, Tommy Brooker.
Tommy
Tommy
Brooker.
Brooker.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was the position coach. And however, I was not required to the workout with the linemen, but I really liked Coach Donahue. His idea was giving 100% at all times.
Mhm.
So other kickers thought I was crazy jumping in. So, and they used us as a dummy holding backs so the defense can knock the crap out of you and things of nature, because they need people, right? So I volunteered to do that. So EJ Jr., I remember him. He's one of the hardest hitter that I've seen. He doesn't give anybody a chance. But
Yeah.
anyways, preparation is we're no long. I mean, we're no different than other players, but it takes a little extra concentration when it comes to because you're the only guy out there, on a silent moment. You gotta go out and perform. So lots of mental stage. You really have to prep yourself and uh, not getting iced out. So I finally figured it out. It wasn't under my control. Offense moving the ball, when the time comes, Coach Bryant calls you, you're going to go in and perform. So might as well you go in with a confidence that you can make it. But I have to tell you, all kickers go through the same moments where you don't want to go in, because that's when you feel that way, more than 99% you're going to miss the kick. So I
Mm.
finally figured out that, you know what? I'm going to pull against my offense. Don't score. I want to go in and kick. That was my mental preparation before I go in.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Uh,
Well, Peter, I've got another follow up to that. How much interaction did Coach Bryant have with the red shirts?
well, very, very little. As you know, Tommy, we have a twice a year, unless you're quarterback or the running back, but we get to visit with him one on one, twice a year, basically. When you report, you know, you sit down and talk to Coach Bryant, and when you go home for the summer, that's when you go visit with the Coach Bryant. And there might be a third time when you need an extra ticket to the bowl games. If your family's coming in and 4 tickets are not enough, you gotta go in and ask. So there's a three chances, especially my what you would call redshirt year. I didn't have much chance to sit down and talk to Coach Bryant. But he gave
Yeah.
me a scholarship. He left me alone, and he knew I was working out with the defensive line every day. So I think that kind of kept me off the side. So yeah, that was a good thing.
Well,
Rick?
folks, Crimson Chronicles is proud to partner with the National Alumni Association of the University of Alabama. And did you know that you can join the National Alumni Association? Anybody can. Membership helps support scholarships, student programs, alumni chapters, and the traditions that make Alabama special. Visit the National Alumni Association at to learn more and to become a member today. We're excited to be finishing one segment with Peter Kim. We're going to come back. Coming up next, Peter's going to take us inside the final years of Coach Bryant, including the famous 315 Iron Bowl and what it meant to score the final points of Coach Bryant's legendary career.